It's YouTube. Yeah, just it's really killing. That's what.
Yeah, the,
This
yeah,
you this one?
yeah, mute the YouTube. Would like to vision.
Yeah.
Um,
2 minutes. Good start.
We'll just stuff up with tables. Put up the house and.
Yeah.
Put something in the ground. There's just.
They didn't get anything. Okay. They didn't even know when to hit. Once we walked out. I did.
You're good to.
Never makes it back out.
No.
Yeah, and that's not the same as what I have this fortune.
You're still.
You started worries about it being full
Yeah.
permit. And then 30 years later, when you got rusted roads with 10-foot canopy, and like I said, on scale.
Not gonna get a person.
Yep.
We do back there, but we're.
You know, you lose your track or your ladder.
That's a lot.
I wish the insurance agencies would just put a flag on properties and then we wouldn't have to hassle with it, you know, from a perspective. No, not on site all the time. Shop around, they just.
Mr. Goyers. You're starting.
And we used to, like, the fire department used to red flag them in our area, or put codes on that, you know, don't even bother.
Rock green on it. Very strong.
This is that,
Some questions.
That's a sec.
2 cents. Meeting, look up her meeting. I'm down there. Yeah. Just close it off. Sorry, guys, it's only 6:01, not.
It's consistent, I like it.
Now you're on Zoom. Okay,
Got that.
great. And that's all running already? Your live stream running? Just hover over your live stream. Yep, it's running. It says stop live stream, so you're good. Okay, so now you can start your recording and start your video.
Oh.
Oh. No.
Good. You're doing it.
Not there. You know, I didn't see it. The screen is crap.
Thank you.
We will call the meeting to order. Thank you. Notice was posted in accordance to Wisconsin statute 19.84 open meeting law. At this time, we'll read the notice of public hearing. Notice of public hearing, State of Wisconsin, County of Burnett, Monday, June 2nd, 2025 at 6 p.m. The Burnett County Government Center, room 165, Town of Meeting in Siren, Wisconsin, regarding the following. Variance 2505. Frohel?
Really?
Fraley? Thank you. Public notice is hereby given to all persons in the town of Blaine, Burnett County, Wisconsin, that John and Wendy Fraley have made an application relative to the proposal to vary the terms of the Burnett County Land Use and Shoreland Protection Code of Ordinances as follows. To leave a garage which was constructed with less than required side setback at 34167 McGraw Lake Road in RR1 zoning district, lot 6, CSM, volume 17, page 88, section 6, town 42N, R14W. Number 2, variance 2506 Holstrom. Public notice is hereby given to all persons in the town of Trade Lake, Burnett County, Wisconsin, that Douglas Holstrom has made an application relative to the proposal to vary the terms of the Burnett County Land Use and Shoreland Protection Code of Ordinances as follows. To leave a shed that was constructed without a land use permit, which doesn't meet the required side setback. To leave a shed that was constructed without a land use permit, which doesn't meet the required side setback, the required front setback, and the required road setback. To leave a garage addition which was constructed without a land use permit, which doesn't meet the required front setback and the required road setback, and to exceed the 30% impervious area located at 12545 Big Trade Road in RR2 zoning district, lot 2, CSM, volume 2, page 120, in government lot 2, section 29, town 37 north, R18 west. Number 3, variance 2507. Leschison. Good? Yep. All right. Public notice is hereby given to all persons in the town of Sand Lake, Burnett County, Wisconsin, that Jeff Howe, on behalf of Peter and Michelle Leschison, has made an application relative to the proposal to vary the terms of the Burnett County Land Use and Shoreland Protection Code of Ordinances as follows. To construct a new garage at a reduced road setback at 5263 State Road 70 in RR1 zoning district, parcel in government lot 5, section 32, town 39 north, R15 west. I'll read. Look at that. You were last, Dan, so next time. No, just kidding. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda order?
I make a motion.
I have a motion by Peterson, I have a second, seconded by Campion. Any other discussion on the agenda order? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries to approve the agenda. At this time, we'll read the meeting procedures. The hearing is being recorded, so we ask that only one person speak at a time. When your variance appeal request is announced, we ask that whoever is presenting the case come up to the table and sit in the chair. You will then present your case to us. The board may ask additional questions during this process. Once you are done presenting your case and the board has no additional questions, you will return to your seat. The board will then open the public hearing. Those speaking at the public hearing will have a 3-minute time limit. When you are called upon for your public comment, please start by stating your name for the record. Make comments to the Board of Adjustment members only. No questioning or arguments between individuals in the audience. Any written correspondence received will be mentioned at this time as well. Once all public speaking is concluded, the board will close the public hearing. The board may then follow up with additional questions for the applicant. The board will then deliberate the case amongst themselves, and you'll likely have a verbal decision tonight. The board may table or defer action whenever it concludes that additional evidence is needed or further study is required. If a decision is made tonight, then at the next Board of Adjustment meeting, the board members will sign the decision document. Once that document is filed with the Office of the Board of Adjustment, usually within a few days of the board's signature, the 30-day appeal limit will start. Any person aggrieved by this decision or applicant, officer, department, board, or bureau of the county or town may, within 30 days after the filing of this decision in the Office of the Board of Adjustment, commence an action in circuit court seeking a remedy available by certiorari. Public comments. At this time, we can get variance 2505.
Yes.
Sure where to start, but Well, it started as, you know, what was it? 13, 14 years ago, the straight line winds that came through. Knocked down every tree on my lot, just about, TNT Logging did it, he said that was the worst they'd seen. Anyways, what wasn't snapped off 30 feet up was uprooted, because it was a wet spring that year. So I had trees with, you know, a 10-foot root ball on the end. I found the stake, as you can see, the stake was moved. The root ball was here, the tree is there, and I found the stake laying on the ground. It wasn't hit like it was damaged or anything. It was just laying right on top of the ground, nothing around. So I figured, okay, must have fallen out of the root ball. So put it to where I figured, as close as I could figure to where it should be. I didn't know, I thought that was the pin. Talking to Mark, I didn't know they had metal pins in. I could have rented a
Metal detector.
there you go, hey, metal detector, found it, but I didn't know. Anyways, that's how I got off. And I don't know what else to say. I'm 3 feet too close to the. On one corner, yeah, it's not. You have it all in front of you there.
Yes.
So I don't know what questions or what else I can say. It's my fault, screwed up, but not on purpose. And you can see where I did mark it, I was more than the 10 feet away, but that mark was wrong, so. Anything else I've got to cover or
Any
questions or what I, you know?
I don't.
It's not like I did it on purpose, and you were all there, you see, there was plenty of room to move, I could have just spun it a little bit, had I known, and I just didn't know.
If you don't have anything else, then you can have it head back and then we'll.
Okay, can I ask one question?
You certainly may.
You know, I asked, Jason about how this all came up and everything, and so who was the complainant on this? You know, that's public knowledge or no?
You don't have a brother.
It was my brother. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. That's my neighbor on the other side. The neighbor that the garage is too close to, he's got no problem with it. I think you got an email or whatever from him or whatever.
We do.
So it's the guy formerly known as my brother who lives on the other side that brought this all up, so.
We don't get a lot of the backstory. We do. Yeah. Oh, good. Any other questions? If not, we can open the public hearing for 2505 Fraley. Any?
Mark from Wagner City, we just did the survey work that last year, so. So they wanted to see is what we presented to them, what are their verifications. Correct.
So since 2018, no issue with.
No.
Hearing no other public comments, we will close the public hearing. And the committee can deliberate amongst ourselves. Any further questions from committee members, information they want to get from the owner or surveyor?
You see there's a email in there from the neighbor to the south.
Yep.
They don't-
My copy.
Yep, that was the only correspondence we received.
And he wouldn't be able to do anything there anyway, because from the property line to the wetland, it's like 40 feet. Yes.
Nice thing, if we look at the survey map, one of the things that we've talked about, we were talking before the meeting about lots and stuff is the structure is 100% on the applicant's property, doesn't go over. Our side setbacks are obviously recommended, but we have had variances where they go just because sometimes surveys weren't done or they weren't correct or proper. But this is an official survey map. I'm showing the parcel and I think, what are we saying, 6.7 or?
6.7 is what it's at, yep. In the corner,
The requirement's ten, right? Yep.
yeah. So 2.3 short.
I looked if they actually had a permit. Just a highlight, yeah. The shoreline is wild, I don't think they even have the vehicle,
Right.
it's not visible from the lake.
Yeah, it's nice when you get to the staff report and it says violations on record. The garage was constructed within the side setback. That's the only violation. So that's always a plus to see.
Is the woodshed a concern? That's technically in the setback too, or? Is it?
Well, even, so
Yep.
would not need a permit, cause it's
Right,
undersized, it's within the side setback. Now, normally we try to ignore things like that, but I got a phone call today from not your place. A different person same thing, their woodshed is too close to my line, I want you to tell them to get it moved, so.
Yeah, so that's the same distance, six.
Yep.
So.
No, we talked in the staff report, well, the standard driveway. Current standards, what is the current standard of it?
Current standard requires a 20-foot cleared width and a 13-foot cleared height. For driveway. It doesn't mean the driving surface needs to be 20 feet wide, but you need to have the stuff cleared 20 feet wide, so, you know, vehicles. Large emergency response, vehicles can get down the road, getting beat up and. So.
I don't have anything further.
Nice.
I don't have anything further.
I would like to see the driveway. Fixed. I've been.
Is that the staff numbers?
Scarred up,
It's
almost.
That, the same thing happened from
That
the
was what they read.
storm, I lost all the trees, and now it's all the popples are shooting up, I
And then
haven't
just-
cleared them back yet, but I'm in the process. I'm in favor of the fixing drive like this.
Yeah, and that's in the staff comments. I mean, the motion would be, if it was approved, it's recommended that the driveway be cleared to the 20-foot, 13-foot height. I would make a motion to approve the variance. And there would be two things that you would need to do. The driveway to be cleared to meet the standard, current standard width by 10-1 of 25. A width of 20 feet and a height of 13. And then you just need to, the garage is already built, so you've already followed the local, county, state, and federal requirements for the activity, so.
There permit issue part?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a motion by Peterson with two conditions. Do I have a second? Seconded by Campion. Any other discussion on variance 2505 Fraley? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries to approve 2505. Yeah, the variance, center.
You don't have to stick around unless you want to.
Bonus points.
Yep.
I don't know what they mean.
I didn't know it would be real to leave in the know.
Start the next one, that way.
Got brush stick on, right?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Oh, some.
Variance 2506 Holstrom. Wanna come on up? Leave a shed and a garage.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Well, I first want to start to say that we had these items built without a permit. We didn't realize that we even needed permits to be for the items that we built and the size. We didn't know that we needed it. The one shed was built from even before we bought the place in 05. So that one is old. You can see it in the 2015 aerial pictures that was mailed to us. That was already there. But that's still within the side setback. I have a letter from our next door neighbor on the side that it's too close to that they're good with, and I can leave that here with you. And then for the road setback, I just want to discuss a little bit that our road is a private road and it's owned by us and the neighbors. And we have the map from 1980, the survey from 1980s showing that the road actually went two different ways. And the way that it went to our house, it actually ended at our garage. The road was actually our driveway. In this picture was taken even before our house was built. When we moved there in 05, then that's when we worked with our neighbor that's the side setback that we interfered on and worked to improve that road in front of our garage so they could then use that as roadway to their property. So that's, the setback from the garage is kind of what we're refuting. And then we're exceeding our 30% impervious area. When you look at the new survey that was just completed, the gravel in front of our parking, our concrete slab for our parking area.
With the camper ice house, ice shack on it.
Yeah,
That
that's-
gravel you're been referring to?
Yeah, that's
Yep.
all gravel and we could turn that back into grass, I suppose, and have that be ripped out. But that's between our concrete slab and the road. So and I also have pictures because one of the mitigations was to put rain gutters in. But the runoff of our house and our garage, except for 19 feet around the garage, already goes into rain garden. So gathering it into a gutter and then putting it into a new rain garden, I think would be a little bit, it really doesn't make sense. And I have pictures of all of our rain gardens here too. I can leave with you. Before we did the concrete slab that you see in the survey, that was all mud. From pretty much our entire front yard through that road, it was a mud pit. And that's why the neighbor's driveway went on the other side of the swamp and we had mud. And the only way for us to fix it was to gravel everything, and then at one point we decided. But like the picture here, even before the house was built, the driveway goes right into our garage door. So, well, all private road. And I have the documents here from the county that it shows that it was a private road, that it was established as a private road. We pay taxes as a private road. Everything's all private. And then I'm open for questions.
You say you've been here about 20 years?
505.
Then where did you come move in from?
Farm northwest Minnesota.
Oh, a farm in northwest Minnesota. Okay. And you didn't need building permits to do a garage addition or concrete and build a
Built
storage.
40 by 60 sheds. Built them and dad did it all with concrete, put them up and they're still standing. You know, we're
It was really an oversight on it.
20 miles from the town of 110.
But that being said, it was, lack of even to realize that we should reach out to and talk to somebody, ask someone. So that is our fault.
Did you hire a builder to do the garage addition and new siding?
No.
You do that yourself?
No, me and friends.
Any questions?
I have no more.
The smart from Wagner survey, just the only comment I have is, one good thing is there's a lot of room between there and the lake, so there's a lot of room to, if they need more rain gardens or anything else besides that, there's plenty of areas to catch the water, I think.
When it used to rain before we did anything, it was a mud pit all the way down to the lake. So every time we would wash our grass, what we had for grass, into the lake. And then I'm thinking, well, if you spray your yard, that spray is going in the lake. And then the other way, it would all get washed in the swamp. And I would get stuck with my 4-wheel drive pickup, trying to back something in right in the driveway. So, like she said, we didn't realize you needed a permit. That's our own ignorance, but we've trapped that water, and what we've done for the lake and the swamp did nothing, in my opinion, but improve it, and no runoff, nothing like that. So all the spots we have, this by the house are rain gardens. It traps all the water in there, and there's no runoff anymore. So just
There's only 19 feet of roof area that hits concrete, and in the one area, it's one little apron, and it goes into the gravel, and then on the other side, it's one little spot that then it goes into a grassy area. And we're not getting a lot of.
It looks like prior to 2019, the tax bill was sent to Farmington, Minnesota address.
Farmington.
Yeah. Oh, okay, I think that's what he was asking.
So the suburb of the Twin Cities, Farmington?
Farmington, yeah. I lived in Farmington too, but we farmed up in northwest Minnesota.
Oh, okay, but you lived in the Twin Cities.
Well, it's on a farm out there too. It was
And no.
It was my wife that passed away. It was her family farm.
It's just hard. It always puts us in a tough spot when we're asking for forgiveness for places that were built without a permit, and people come from the Twin Cities where you have to have a permit to do anything. It always puts us in a tough spot, to do the after the fact permits.
Sure, I guess I never, the only thing he ever built was on the farm. I never even advised.
I have no further question.
Anything else? If not, we can open the public hearing for 2506 Holstrom. Any letters or information that needs to be addressed?
I guess whatever letters you have.
It's from the neighbor.
Yeah, I guess I should. When you're done looking at them, have them for the file at least.
Oh, the general stuff, yep. Any other public comments? We will close the public hearing. And you can deliberate amongst yourselves here.
We've got three main issues. One is setbacks, one is no permits, and one is impervious. Correct.
I agree.
Break it down. You look at setbacks. One is the shed to the north,
The, the one on the garage or the standalone?
the one the scannable. And that one looks like it's on skids. So that,
No, posts.
on posts, so that one could be moved.
There, no, they're dug in.
Well, you could cut them off and you could move it, is what I'm saying, it's not a concrete foundation. The lean-to on the garage is an old, just a metal skin, I mean, that one could come down. And that would comply. The addition on the garage is too close to the road, but be ashamed, I think, to tear that down.
And that was in 2015, is that when that was built?
I believe now.
It does have a garage door toward the road, but there's only one more driveway past them. It's not high traffic.
But that is actually not a road,
Oh, it's a private road.
but I made it that. It was
Well,
grass.
Yeah, I believe the standard though, any road has to meet.
That's more than
town
10
road
feet. That's more than 10 feet from
Right.
setback for that. And the lean-to in the back has been there well over 30 years.
Did you add to the lean-to in 2015 to the north?
Not that, well, I did.
Could be, that is on the 2015 aerial, I think. It's hard to actually tell what's.
I didn't put it in steel real well.
The gas tank. Yep.
I didn't have out there.
The permit thing is something pretty easily handled, right, Jason? Just a matter of one permit for all those.
Right.
That's really.
On the plus side, it's nice to see a fire ring that's not inside the 35 feet
70 or 75.
that we normally get. So that is nice.
Not what, did you think?
Your fire ring and concrete is back 75 feet from the ordinary high water mark. So it would be, if you would have came in, it would have been easily permitted at that time. You would have just wrote you a permit for the concrete and that, if you could meet the 30%, the impervious surface areas.
What do you do if someone has a lot that's not even 75 feet? And they've got a building on it and or building something on it, I mean, is that even allowed then?
Well, that's what else says.
That's not for us to discuss at this meeting. You know, that would be something you could ask Jason at a different time and he can explain all of the code and the ordinances to you. My issue with the whole thing, the garage door facing that side, that must be lawnmower UTV. It's not, it doesn't look like you have room to put a car in there. That, oh, you do?
Not the width wise, no, but the whole length I do.
On the one that faces the private driveway, you can put a car in there.
Not if I went in that way, no. Oh, I'd have to go in the other way because it's all open.
Okay, so we're not pulling a car in there anymore. It's usually a lawnmower UTV or something.
That's, yeah, it's just a ATV, yeah.
The thing I have, that's the only problem with is the neighbors for that building, the one with the windows in it, is that a storage building?
Yeah. Summer storage, winter storage for depending on what toys we got out.
It's the impervious surface that we're not even close to. You know, I don't know how we're gonna meet the steps on that. And that's something that, you know, the state of Wisconsin just requires us to do. I mean, that's not, Burnett County didn't set that up. The state of Wisconsin set up the impervious surfaces. And I understand you're doing rain gardens and stuff, but you have to have somebody. We can't get enough points at 35%. To let that go. You know, we just.
If I seeded grass on the whole gravel, that's 5.5%. That put me at 29.
Well, I
crunched the numbers and we figured it was about 1,180 square feet over.
1,100 what?
34% we're at.
Yeah, you're at 1,180 square feet
And then
over.
gravel is 12 something, I believe.
Yeah.
1,200 square feet.
Yep.
I just don't understand how you're gonna drive over grass to get your parking.
Yeah.
You're not, cause it was grass before. But it'll just have to, we'll have to seed it and,
Or turn it into mud, right?
well, it did, that's what it was.
Yeah, that's what it's, yeah.
I mean, we'd like to work with you here, but I just don't know, do we gotta remove a little concrete and put some grass where you have the motor home or the trailer and the two trailers? Wasn't there two trailers parked there? When I was there, I think there was.
Camper in the fish house. That's it.
Yes. There was two parked there on concrete, that one concrete, but if we need 1,100 square feet. What did you say the gravel was?
12 something, I believe,
1,200 square feet?
believe so.
Yep, 1,200 and, no, 1,542,
Let's see.
according to the survey,
Yeah, 1542.
according to our survey.
15 gravel, 17 ton.
And that would be the gravel just between the concrete apron and the private road.
Yeah, and our property.
Okay. So you could leave a driveway of 12 feet and get rid of the rest of it, and put it in grass where you could still pull the other stuff in, or I don't know. I'm just discussing.
And there is gravel on the west side of the garage as well,
Yeah, we put that in,
and concrete is for part of it, I guess.
just the apron.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's right. No.
One minor item to note with the boardwalk. Some of it's probably wider, some of it's less than 4 or 5 feet, so I'm not sure if that's counted when it's a walkway or not. That could be Jason's call, I guess, on that. We always include it to show that's there,
As impervious.
that's impervious, because it's flat, it's deck, so it does have room to soak in that there, so. If it's a walkway, they don't count that sometimes.
Isn't that stamped concrete?
Yes, it is. It's all stamped
Is it all-
concrete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no water going through it, and plus it
Okay.
does all count.
There's also, okay.
There's a sidewalk between the boardwalk here and the lean-to behind the shed that's actually just concrete pavers. That, I don't know how that was counted.
Yeah, they're just little favors that was our way to get into the place before concrete without getting full of mud. So I moved them over by the east side of the garage. And they're actually counted too, yes.
Well, let's tackle this in the phases that Dan talked about, sheds. If we talked at the last one, everything's within the lot lines, even though they're very close to the edges. You got 5 foot, 5'6" on the standalone shed, that if you were to move that 2 feet to the sidewalk, well, we'd have to move it 5 feet if we
Right.
were to try to meet the setback, which doesn't change any impervious, doesn't change anything besides moving it. The shed lean-to is 2.3 and 2.9 feet from the lot line, which is less than the 10 required on the lot. That lean-to has been there since 2015, at least, looking at the
No
satellite.
one's been there since
Well, all we have on the picture is
92, I'd say, 1892.
Is there a point where it's old enough, we're not worried about it?
Yeah, if it's over 10 years.
Okay, so that one, that too close to the lot line would not be in effect. Is that correct? Is that what I'm? Okay.
If you bought it with that existing.
Are we then, if we remove that, we're talking about the shed, do we wanna have that moved the 4 feet for the convenience? Or it's within the thing now, even if you remove that shed, it's not gonna gain enough pervious material. again, if, as Jason stated, if we're gonna require the gravel be turned to grass, it's probably more of an erosion problem than with the gravel there. If you're backing in, I can only hear the testimony of the gentleman saying that the mud swamp when you're there. Oh, now, you know. I don't know. Mark, do you know about gravel, and Jason about impervious? Because obviously in a heavy rain, yes, your driveway will slough off the sand, but it's dirt and rock. So on a nice mist, my driveway doesn't puddle up. I've got gravel and rock and it soaks right through the gravel and rock into, I know it's defined as impervious, but is there any, do you have any clarification on that or?
Well, I'll tell you why it's figured as impervious is because when this rule went into place, we wanted everyone to be grandfathered in at the maximum amount they had. So if you had a gravel driveway and if you count that as impervious, then you can go and pave it, concrete it, and you don't have to jump through any hoops of doing any mitigation. If we would have said, oh, all that stuff doesn't count, and then anyone that wanted to pave a driveway that's gravel, now we're gonna make them do mitigation, that would have pissed a lot of people off, I think, going, I have a 8-foot wide gravel driveway and I wanna blacktop it, now I gotta get mitigation done. Gotta restore shorelines and do rain gardens,
So
so
it's more because of the paperwork versus what's really better for the,
more for the paperwork.
you know, I mean, you know, but I mean, you're saying that they couldn't do it because it would be impervious or whatever, but it's not that it would be better for what's around the surrounding. You know what I mean, like the runoff and the lake and all that.
Yeah, well, it was when the state mandated we had to adopt this rule, we wanted as many people to be grandfathered in at the highest amount possible. That's the reason it was done that way. If we would have said it didn't count, then I think a lot of people would have been upset. That everyone that wanted to change something from gravel to pavement or concrete would have to do mitigation. But that's the way it is.
Yeah, okay, no,
Yeah, I don't know.
it took a while when you said that for me to actually catch
Yes.
the drift, yes.
What I'm saying is, though, I mean, not, that doesn't make it necessarily better for that swamp, because if that gravel wasn't there, all that mud runs into that swamp all the time. So you're saying it's because of,
Well, it should not be mud, it should be vegetation.
yeah, it should be.
Yeah, but if you don't drive on it, it will turn into vegetation though. I mean, you were driving on it, that's why it's turning into
But
mud.
it never grew. Nothing ever grew there, it was always wet. Like,
It's probably more of a wetland than more than anything, but. Yeah.
it was a mud.
Yeah.
We're on the sheds.
Yep.
What do we want with that standalone shed? Are you guys comfortable with leaving it as is, or you wanna move it to the 10 feet?
Your neighbor has no issue with that one?
Nope,
Not at all.
nope, in fact, he was with me when I was working on it, and I showed him where I was gonna be, and he said it makes the most sense, so. He said, yeah, it looks good. And we have the letter showing that, so.
Do we have a measurement on the, which would be what, the west? To the garage to the driveway, or what's the lot line measurement there? Okay. But what's the number where that's, was it 30 feet?
You can see the setback line right in the middle of the garage. Dash.
Yeah, that 30-foot right away setback.
Not on this map.
I don't have that on my map.
Yeah, it's gotta be on
You
the,
guys are probably looking at the 2015, no?
Yeah, go to the first map and
Yeah.
you're back.
That's fine.
Got it.
gotcha. And out of the 6 points that were from mitigation, were 5, if they did what was recommended in the staff comments. That doesn't go to footages. Does the point scale go, okay, if you're at 30% and you're 31, is that 2 points or 1 point? Is there a correlation there?
It's 2 points for every 5 that you we break it down in chunks of 5. So if you go from 15 to 20, it's 2 points. You want to be at 15.1 or 19.9,
Correct.
you get 2 points. So, and then 20 to 25 is 2 more points, 25 to 50.
So he's at 34 now, so he needs 8 points or.
If you were to extrapolate that,
Or 5, yeah.
well, no, it'd be 8. Cause he went from 15 to 34. So he needs 2 points to go from 15 to 20, 2 more points,
Oh.
20 to 25.
In
2 more.
2015, the impervious was
Yeah.
at 15% is what you're saying.
Yeah.
But without permit though, but the requirement is under 30%.
Yeah.
Without any points. If he was 29 and nothing happened,
No,
we wouldn't have a question, right?
if it was there when,
Well, yeah, no, you can have up to 30%, right?
with mitigation.
Or with, it's a 15 with a.
15 is no mitigation.
Under
Yep.
15.
Yep.
15 or-
Once you go over 15, then you
Yeah.
gotta start doing mitigation to offset.
And there's no set number over 30 because that's illegal.
That's the max, is 30. Yep, correct.
But if they were to get it down to 30, they could do 6 points.
Well, I can't figure out how to get him 6 points, but I got him 5.
Okay.
Yeah,
What about adding
Other things,
pervious, you know? Changing the character of the layout, like is it, I mean, I'd talk an idea, what if you do this? That gives them access to all that concrete. This lot line gets removed and goes back to pervious soil, but that, if you take that square close to what this is, that would be enough to make the thing. But then you can still function coming in. He just loses a stall, is what it amounts to. In my mind. So that's the only way to get below the 34%.
But, or in the gravel.
Yeah.
There's if there is that amount of gravel on that. Between the road and the,
Well, yeah, you'd have to take more than, you have to take gravel and you're saying some concrete.
Yeah, I would take the south lot where the camper parks and there in front of it, there's another ice shack or something like that. You'd mitigate, say 15 feet or whatever of that goes into natural line, which then allows you to come around that corner and you can still pull in. The camper would just move over 15 feet onto the concrete.
that's not 12.
I don't know, that's not 1,200 square feet.
From the back of that line, I mean, if you draw a triangle, it's pretty close, but
It's 1,200 square feet, it is what, 30 by 40?
right, it's a big area. That it have to be some gravel would have to go between the private road and the concrete. Right, because didn't somebody just say that there was about 1,700 square
Yeah,
feet there?
it says there's, the gravel is what, 1542.
So you could almost get there with,
But then driving, how do you get from the road to the?
you'd have to have some gravel.
Yeah.
You'd have to have like a 12-foot gravel driveway, so you could back camper in, you could pull in and use it. I agree. You can't drive through the mud and the dirt to use your garage.
Scale.
you guys want to scale.
Do you have any ideas to help us?
One thing I can think of is just if we took all the gravel we had, planted that. The grass, like you said, cut that.
You'd have to, yeah,
1,800 feet there.
you'd have to do some kind of gravel driveway or, no difference between concrete or gravel, really. You could pour it in concrete if you wanted at a certain width, if you removed enough gravel to meet the mitigate and get to the 30%.
what is 520 or 550 square feet of impervial turned to pervial due to the math?
About half.
That's a third of the gravel. Well, that 542 is basically a 10-foot swipe.
If Dan said it's 1,100 and some, right, 1,200,
1180 we figure.
so 1,200, so that would be, it would get them down roughly to 32 point something percent. It's about 500 some square feet. It's about-
It looks like the gravel and the concrete was close to 30 some feet wide. In the east-west direction on the south end.
The concrete,
The concrete and the gravel.
Both of them.
well, I mean,
No,
30-foot right of way setback line goes through there.
Well, I'm just saying for size, if we take this, the width of the gravel and the width of the concrete. Let's say that's roughly 30 feet, we would have to take out that full width and then go 40 feet north to get enough.
yeah, it's 52 feet. If you're from the road where the camper and the other shed in front of it is from the back of the concrete line, which is drawn there, that's about 52 feet from the lot. And so that's what I was just thinking, if you did 10 or 12 feet wide there, if you could get 500 square feet, 600 square feet, does that bring it under we need 1,200,
1,200.
that's 20 feet, which then,
We can still have room to swing into the garage.
And then I took some pictures of that. There's a lot of gravel too off that apron of the garage. There's quite a bit that could be removed alongside and revegetated.
where the stuff is where the door is, right? So-
Yeah, you know, that's all gravel right there and you don't drive on that. You can still leave in their concrete apron and a little, you know, you can remove all that gravel.
There's besides.
And then gravel there. I mean, there's a lot of gravel that could be removed and still give them gravel to get up on that concrete.
On the gravel right now, but I think we did say, I think the two sheds were okay. The 10-foot setback on the garage without the permit to the lot line, it doesn't have. We're pretty serious about 35 feet or the 30 feet there when it comes to backing out onto a road, which is what I think, you were talking about, Brad. But it's a ATV snowmobile access in and out, not transportation.
Staff report's part of the improved, part of the site work. Just to, if we get down to 30%, the site work would still involve the shoreline, the corridor.
Being very narrow.
Yep, vegetated natural area. Gutters and downspouts. Yeah, 5 points. Now, I'm guessing that that Emily, she would go and look at what they've got for rain gardens and verify if that meets it or not, or if that be added or whatever.
No, who's on the right page? That makes sense. We're 1,180 square feet of impervious that had to be converted to get down to 30%, but. Well, I don't know.
Flashcards.
Well, no, this makes sense, does. And that's all stamped concrete to boardwalk, so they're not, like I said, because they do have new technology where you can have concrete that's water. So
It's all stamped. Everything that I remember seeing. Very nice.
The addition to the house and the fire pit are permittable, would be an issue for the downhill figures. Add on to the north side of the shed, the lean-to is not it's too old. Old for us to, so we're looking at it, the shed.
At the shed, looking at the garage addition. And then the impervious.
Before I found the this side.
And it's pretty common for us to grant that shed at that 5.5. I mean, that's not uncommon. For garages, sheds.
Especially if the owner, the neighbor doesn't care.
Right.
He's the one.
One thing if the neighbor says, hey, they built this without permit and and I don't want it here, I want it gone. Or the town board comes and says the same thing.
Yeah.
But we have that little thing called the state of Wisconsin that says we have to get to 30% to make this work.
Yeah, the garage addition is too close to the setback, but we really don't want people tearing buildings down for this.
That's not on Highway 35.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's not too close to the property line when it's not a road. If that gets planted grass, it's not a road.
It's always gonna be a road, it's platted as a road right away.
Yep. And any plotted road by default has to meet town road standard. So if you want a driveway on it, otherwise everyone on that road is gonna get fined and the town's gonna come
I'm not
after.
gonna understand, plotted road went up northwest of the swamp and back around the north side, and that ended there.
Your back line is your lot line, so that's, we have to.
It's a
go by.
loop. It makes a loop, but it's all platted as a road right away to go around that wetland. It's the whole loop is platted as a road right away.
Even if it's private, so we take care of it ourselves, there's nothing, I mean, so.
The town could come in and take that over if they wanted to, that's basically what it's.
And then they got a 66 right away that's statute on it, but they assume it's crazy. That's why we want all private driveways to meet town road standard. There's been a lot of statutes written around that to try to solve the problems of too skinny of driveways or multiple properties without EMS on them and stuff, but that's a separate kind of hassle, so.
And I'm not even so worried about the garage door that enters on the private road, but it's the dead end. But back to the impervious surface. I mean, is it up to us to figure out how he gets there?
You can either mandate how he gets there, or you can tell him what items to remove, or you could just say, figure it out, get down, choose whatever number you guys want.
Get it down to 30%, full permits and.
So if you say get down to 30, we would work with him to figure out what needs to be adjusted to get it down to 30.
Been a little difficult to narrow that down right here. Based on these, plans and.
So we could say, well, take this out and take that out, and they may only want to take this out, not that, and they.
Right.
We could be here all night.
Because we're okay with, I think everybody here said they were okay with the garage door facing the road. We're not calling it a town road, it's just a road.
It doesn't matter, it's the
Doesn't matter.
ingress and egress that's plotted, and it isn't a backing out where we've had some conversation precedent where if it's the main access to the garage, it's backing out onto a busy road. This doesn't meet that standard in my mind, therefore it's, even though the garage door is there, it isn't a concern to me at least on that, so. I think that makes sense because I'm 70 feet short in my mind of what I would do if I own the property of meeting impervious. And that's taken a 15 or 18 foot swipe on the south side where the camper's stored, tearing out that concrete and putting it back to grass and the gravel, which then still gives you close to, that's a huge access area and parking area. And then as you talked about, that little 12 by 15 area that is gravel right now could be converted, and it doesn't change any logistics of getting in and out with a lawnmower or four-wheeler, but it's square footage, and I'm short 70 feet. by doing that, but that's not us to dictate how to do it. I like, as Jason says, that if we approved it, it would have to meet the 30% impervious. However, the landowner wants to get there to do it, that's up to him and the surveyor.
You know, understanding that it would only be 5 points, you're not gonna get to 6 or, I mean, is there not?
What was called out for gutters on the staff report? We add more gutters somewhere or?
I think it was guttered already, the buildings in the garage.
Okay.
Let's see here. What is it?
She mentioned that this, most of it goes in, but
This says on the dwelling.
Oh, that might be because I didn't know. Oh, I think because I was looking at the pictures, I don't know how you would get the water. I don't know how you'd get gutter water from the garage to a rain garden. Because of the pitch, of the roofs, and then with that lean-to on the north side. You know, are you gonna have a gutter system that's gonna, wrap around 3 sides of a building? I mean, then you're gonna probably need a pump to get the, I mean, it gets. I think that's why I didn't put the garage on there, cause I'm like, it's too complicated to try to get a rain garden.
Yeah.
With the roof pitches the way they are.
What happens if we can't get it to where it's mitigated, it's, we have to pay a fine?
So,
If there's no options for mitigation,
but if you don't like the decision that they make tonight, you could appeal it to circuit court. But otherwise, we could, not that we want to, we could give you a citation, but it would be daily. Each day that it's there, it's a citation until it's removed for the end of time, unfortunately.
and that's for the shed, the garage addition, anything that was unpermitted. Cause there's what, 3 violations or?
You have the garage addition, the westerly addition, then you have
Yeah.
that other shed, and then you have the fire pit patio area.
House edition.
Oh, and then the house addition, yeah. 4 things.
One,
Interesting. Yeah, it was.
You can just say, yeah, it shows rain, I'm like,
Put
yeah.
my rain jacket in.
right.
Does that make sense?
That does make sense to me. I mean, I just don't know where I think that.
If it was 1 addition or violation, but it's 4 things, so I tend to lean that if the applicant can meet the 30% pervious solution, however, he's gotta remove stuff or figure it out with the engineer and the surveyor. It's a condition of the approval, in my sense. That makes sense. Yep. Yeah, we could go back and forth. I mean, like I said, to just play through the situation, you have to, we see so many of these properties, I apologize, but they all look alike after a while in your head. Staff.
I'm trying to think about a motion here, I'm trying to word it. correctly.
Well, let me give a crack at it, I guess, you can see what you think. It would be motion to approve. Leaving the shed, garage addition, garage lean-to, you might as well just leave it in there, with the condition that the owner get the impervious area down to 30%.
And where?
Well, the fire pit can be permitted.
Yeah.
It's not within a setback or anything. Same with the house addition, it's all meets setback, so it can be permitted.
Okay.
So it'd be a motion to leave the shed, the garage addition and the lean-to addition. Property owner get the property down to 30% impervious area, how they see fit. And then it would be with the 6 staff conditions
as well. I'm guessing, right?
You said.
Yes.
Ready?
Yep.
I would make a motion to approve the variance. To pull permits for the concrete patio pavers. The storage building with the windows. The storage building on the north side of the garage is grandfathered in. And to approve the garage addition. And the homeowner will be responsible to work with Burnett Land Services representatives to get this to 30%. Also, the shoreline to follow state standard viewing and access corridor width, which is not to exceed 30% of the shoreline for the corridor width. And the vegetated natural area buffer zone needs to be a depth of 37.5 feet landward from the ordinary high water mark. This is to offset exceeding 15% impervious surface. They have approximately 75 feet of shoreline, which would allow a 22.5 foot width viewing and access corridor. That's worth 1 point. The vegetated area to be expanded to meet the ordinance 45-341, which requires natural area vegetation protection to be the depth of 37.5 feet landward from the ordinary high water mark to the depth of 50 feet landward from the ordinary high water mark, with a viewing access corridor width of 22.5 feet through this vegetated protection area. This is to offset an exceeding 15% impervious surface areas. That's worth 2 points of mitigation. Gutters and downspouts on the dwelling with the water directed to the rain gardens, and maybe the rain gardens that are there will work. This is to offset the exceeding 15% impervious surface. That's worth 2 points. Lock and chain to be installed on the septic tank by 8/1 of 2025. And then all the permitting to be done for the garage addition, the one shed, the dwelling addition, the concrete parking area, walkways, patio, fire pit by 11/1 of 2025. This would require the restoration and rain gardens plan to be approved by the conservation staff by 10/15 of 2025. Follow all local, county, state, and federal requirements for this activity.
I have a motion by Peterson,
I'll second it.
seconded by Daniels. Any discussion on the motion 2506 Holstrom with conditions as stated? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. At this time, we'll do variance 2507. Nice fence. Now I said, where's my 4? That's too much. To construct a garage at a reduced road setback. Come on up.
Oh, it's all from this.
Mr. Howe? Good.
All right, so I went into the pull permit for this garage. And before we started. And I think, and then, you know, cause we were, you know, I measured up the center line of the road, and I measured up, there's a right of way stake there up, you know, on the, from the highway, there's a right of way stake. You know, coming back from the setback from the highway, I measured those back to where the basketball hole was, right at the edge of their blacktop. If you're looking at the map there. And, you know, I'm 101 feet from the center line, and I'm 34 feet from that right of way stake, so I thought, okay, we have no issues. You know, we're gonna be 30 feet from the setback, and we're gonna be fine. So then I went in to pull the permit and discovered that apparently there, at some point, there was a road plotted there years ago. And now we have to be 30 feet from the second road plotted there, a frontage road. And was not aware of that. So that's how we got to this point. The you know, like I say, and when I was looking at that before I even knew that this, because there's a newer sewer on that second building. And the drain field is right up almost to the same spot as where we were gonna put the north side of the garage. So I really didn't see where there was gonna be any issues here. Until I discovered that there was a road body there at some point.
So the new drain field, Jeff, is on not on the backside of the proposed garage?
It is,
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay.
It's not any closer to the highway than what we wanna do with the new garage.
Got it.
So that's why I just assumed we were, and I know sewers can be closer to the setbacks and whatnot, but that's why I just assumed we were fine before we, but. So then we, you know, we did some measuring and staked it out and, you know, we can't go any further to the west east because of the drain field. We're trying not to go closer to the lake where that, you know, cause that terrain is, you know, as you know, that's a very steep grade there. So we're trying to stay up in the flat part, you know, and basically what they've been mowing forever, you know, in their yard. You know, it's just this frontage road thing that from what I understand will likely never go in. But that should be nice if just somebody just make that go away, you know, either the township or Jason had enough, you know, power from somebody to say, hey, that's not gonna go in, we'll just go with the normal setbacks and nobody would have had to been here. You know, so.
I'll just explain real quick. So every state road in Burnett County has a 66-foot setback from the road right of way.
So it's a secondary.
It's basically, I think the reason it's done that way, so this is along every highway in all of
Yep.
Burnett County, is if you ever need to put a frontage road in there, you have space to put a 66-foot wide road in there without having buildings in the way. I think that's probably why. It's been that way since Flanagan's time. So it's not like it's been a new change.
Sure.
Highway, that's,
Considered state highway though.
Yep. County roads you have to be 42 from the road right away, and then town roads are 30 from the road right away. So depending on the level of road, it gets wider and wider, how much room they're trying to save. And sewers can go within those setback areas. That's why sewers can be less.
Is that pretty easy to move?
I think that's a lot easier to move than a building, yes.
But. Question, I think that maybe this would be a question for Mark Krause at Survey, man, this isn't the time to ask questions anyway, right? This is Jeff.
Yeah, we're just in, yep.
No, the questions are, yeah.
Well, so there's maybe you don't know, maybe Jason knows, this question. I think there's other places along there that are in that setback already, so that road.
Yeah, there's been probably 3 variances in the last 6 or 7 years along that kind of stretch there.
So
Just because you have that steep slope on all those lots along that whole side, and the highway is relatively close to
Yeah,
the
we were
flat.
farther down not that long ago.
Yep, yeah, so there's been like 3 other variances along that stretch in the last 6, 7 years, I think.
And the access is certainly not gonna be an issue with coming in from would be the west side.
Yeah, the garage doors are not gonna, so they're not gonna back out towards the right of way, they're gonna be pulling in from the driveway side.
I don't have a question for Jeff.
Good.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, Mark from Wagner Surveying too. And just one other comment on the 66 foot road. It's one thing is the state doesn't want to buy houses from people who build the road. That's one of the reasons they keep it back. Is because they don't want to have to purchase it. If there's a septic or something, they can take care of that, but else they don't. And the other thing is, if you look at this property, they're gonna move the road, it would move to the north. So they've already moved it as far south as they've already moved it away from the south once when they redid it, and they moved again, but they basically have enough room they're where they're gonna be, you know, so there isn't much reason for changing the route there, so that's usually why they need to. Thanks, Mark.
I just don't know why the septic or the lot line is little wonky there on that side, I guess. We don't know,
Will be worked now.
yeah.
You can't move the septic's already there, and you're inside the setback, for sure.
Mhm.
We haven't got the boundary line, we're talking some more about that, we want things to improve, so.
Yeah, we're not dealing with the septic right now, so it's just the garage,
Okay.
yeah.
At this time, we'll open the public hearing for variance 2507 Leschison. Any comments from anyone or letters that need to be addressed? Seeing
We had no DNR correspondence this month.
Well, none of them are within the 75-foot setback.
It's nice, isn't it?
No.
No, on the other side of it.
Hearing no other public comments, we will close the hearing and discuss amongst ourselves and hopefully come up with a decision.
I think the president has been set on that through, you know, you said you were just there a few months ago and like Mark said, Wagner Surveying said that, you know, if the road moves, it's gonna move north. It's not gonna move south because there's just, they couldn't move south. I mean, with the,
It's flat on the north.
There's hardly any houses on the other side of the road, so yeah, if they wanted to move the road, it'd be cheaper to move it north, you'd only have to buy a couple houses instead of, you know, like 30 of them.
Yeah, and if you look at that last page to scale, when I look at it, you just look down that. The proposed garage is really consistent with every other structure. You got the driveway in there, yeah, it is coming out farther, but that tree line, I don't see a disadvantage of being in the state right away. No, that's there. Again, like logic, you never know what the state will do 50 or 100 years from now. That's like I said,
We would have flying vehicles by then.
Yeah. you know. So other than that, I don't have any extra concerns. This one's nice that it's ahead of time. It's not built yet, right?
it's very nice. Very nice.
Well, I got no further questions.
Willing to make a motion to accept the variance. Variance 2507. Based on providing land use permit to be obtained for the garage prior to construction. Overhead garage doors not allowed on the north side of the garage. Not allowed on the side facing the highway. Lock and chain to be installed on the septic tank by 8/1/2025. Both septic systems to be serviced and reported to the county by 11/1/2025. No human habitation allowed in the ground.
I have a motion by Daniels with 5 conditions. Do I have a second?
I would second it.
Seconded by Peterson. Any other discussion on variance 2507 Leschison with 5 conditions? If not, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries to approve.
Thanks for getting a permit before, Jeff.
It happened.
One of the few.
They come in waves, I think. What, we have a couple last month?
Just the one you
What?
guys, the Keesley one, on, Deep Road.
Oh, yeah. It was that one.
Yeah. Page 3. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Where you know, Kathy's not here for secretary.
What if I beat you?
Who wants to
To
be
build
the
something.
secretary tonight? Or I can have her, have her come in and sign up.
She was,
Sign it.
well, they weren't there actually, yeah.
Well,
They
yeah,
can't
she
sign it,
was
so
there.
I can call her.
Same.
Whatever you want.
Dad,
I'll call.
Dad buys pens every year and he puts some of the night
Yeah.
he got.
They're gonna
Like it.
talk.
He's a good guy.
Yep. then
He's a
you
good
do
guy.
Mileage before
He's a
you
good
leave,
guy.
but you can adjourn or do whatever you gotta do first.
Yeah. We've signed motion to adjourn.
Make the motion.
Motion by Campion, seconded by Garansky. All in favor, say aye. We're adjourned.